original music of Aaron Krzyzewski. Yes, 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 yes. Welcome back, Aaron. It's nice to have you here. And our musical guest this morning, or this afternoon, it so feels like morning when you're in church, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, our musical guest, not only is Aaron Krzyzewski on woodwinds, but is our special guest today. Haji Basim, he is here with us, and it's an honor. He's also brought a colleague of his, and they're going to be sharing some music with you. So enjoy, and nice to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's always wonderful to be back in the house. And this is my dear friend Magi, and I'll share a little bit more about him and why he's here a little bit later. But I want to start the service off first by sharing a song with you all. This song is entitled Forest of the Mind. Forest of the Mind. There is a place any can find, buried beneath the forest of the mind, where does one search for that worth only inside, to a sense that's universal and of a purposeful kind. Oh, Shanti, Om Shanti Om. There is a place any can find, buried beneath forests of the mind. Oh, where does one search for the word only inside, to a sense that's universal and of a beautiful kind, beautiful kind. Oh, Shanti Om. Oh, Shanti Om. There's a place any can find, buried beneath the forests of the mind, forests of the mind. Thank you very much. All right, so many moons ago, I lived on an ashram, and this was about 10 years ago. And it was a meditation center, and they had farms, like an organic farm there, big meditation center. We cleaned, did a lot of seva, which is like more so work towards the divine and work towards God. And I met this brother there. He was there working on agriculture. He's a master farmer, and we wound up recognizing we had a music connection or whatnot that was really amazing. And one thing that we learned from at the ashram was that when you put a seed into the ground and you cover it up, that seed is going to start to grow into something. You decide what it's going to be, but the time you take, of course, to water it, to what's another word? What's another watering? What else did we do?
Watering, weeding.
Weeding, all right? Okay, it was a long time, 10 years ago for me. He's the master farmer. I was his assistant. And what we noticed was that what we put into the ground wound up coming up, and it came up in form of kale, because I love kale smoothies, and I like bok choy too, and he hates bok choy. Why are we growing this bok choy? Because I like to stir fry with it. And we just found the gift in intentionally putting our seed into the ground and watching it grow and manifesting until something that we harvest. And the same thing is found inside of ourselves in our decisions and how we move throughout life. So the root of the story is to really focus on the intention behind the seeds that we're putting into the ground. This next piece is a bit of an instrumental, and the theme of it is the rise of the Spirit. Rise of the Spirit. All right, thank you.
Okay, this is a little short. I don't know if you call it an anecdote or a small little story, but it's about an old sage that lived in the mountains. And this is basically a small story about how your reputation precedes you. Yeah, so. Once, there was a man named Duan Gan Mu who gave up his career and stayed at home. The Lord of Wei went to his town to formally pay his respects to the townspeople. When his servant asked why he was doing this, the Lord replied, "Because Duan Gan Mu lives here." The servant said, "Duan Gan Mu is a man of no account. Isn't it going too far to pay respects to his town like this?" The Lord said, "Duan Gan Mu does not chase after power and profit, but takes the way of the enlightened to heart. Though he lives anonymously in a poor neighborhood, his good name is known far and wide. How can I not honor his town?" The Lord went on, "He is radiant with virtue. I am radiant with power. He is ethically rich. I am materially rich. Even if he could change places with me, he wouldn't do it."
God is dope, hey. Don't lose hope, ho, ho. God is dope, hey. Don't lose hope. God is dope, hey. Don't lose hope, ho, ho. God is dope. Don't lose hope.
This next song,
Actually, I'll do it. You can start playing, and I'll just introduce you. So, this next song is written by a dear friend of mine by the name of Magi. And it's one of his first times really performing out in front of a group of people. I've known this brother for 10 years, and this has been one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. No pressure. And this song is entitled,
Can You Show Me a Sign?
Can You Show Me a Sign?
Thank you. Can you show me a sign? Will I make it in time? Life is searching to find divine beauty that surrounds us is the clue. Love is what unites us, is the glue. Wake up and every day is anew. What should we do? Please show me the way that I should go. They say you reap, you must also sow. Treasures abound, and there's so much more. We might just get what we ask for. Can you show me a sign? Will I make it in time? Life is searching to find divine. Open up your eyes and see you're blessed. All the jewels are hidden in the test. Mission to always be our best. No more, no less. Please show me the way that I must go. They say you reap, you must also sow. Treasures abound, and there's so much more. We might just get what we ask for. Thank you.
So, I love that. It's so rare that we would have an opportunity to actually hear someone's inaugural performance. So once again, give it up to Magi. That's a rare gift. Thank you so much for honoring us. And Haji, I'm going to actually let you take leave if you'd like. And I was telling him earlier, you must stay. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, you do. But I wanted to, again, just thank Haji for seeing the vision, having a vision for this morning or this afternoon program with Magi. That's just so beautiful. Thank each of you. They'll be back. This is a chant. I'd love you to join me. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. Together. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. You are my reflection. You are my reflection. There is only one. Open your mind. Unfold your heart. Relax your senses. Feel every part. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound. Unbound. Breathe every breath. Release your cringe. Love without waiting. Slowly unhinge. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound. Unbound.
Let's know this together. There is one perfect power, one perfect peace. That one is spirit, and we are each in it, of it. It is all around us. It is in front of us, behind us, beside us. We know that it's all good because it's all God. We know in this time of abundance, this time of harvest, we are blessed. We are blessed with the abundance of love, the abundance of health, the abundance of wonderful self-expression, the abundance of knowing that no matter where we go, no matter what we're doing, Spirit is with us, Spirit is guiding us, Spirit is giving us the right thoughts, the right words, the right actions. And as we go out into this wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, we are overflowing with love. We are overflowing with the knowledge that Spirit is blessing us all the time. It's so clear that this is the case. With all the wonderful people in our lives, all the wonderful friends and family, all the wonderful, wonderful friends we have in this church, our wonderful minister, our wonderful ministers, our wonderful practitioners, our wonderful staff. We know that God is guiding all of us. We know that God has given this to us. It is in total gratitude that we walk into this week showing the love light that is God, that is Spirit. And it is through this wonderful light that we attract good to us. And we're open to receiving that good. We're open to receiving it and recirculating it and giving it out to the world, giving it out, receiving it in. We're so grateful for this wonderful Thanksgiving holiday week where the entire nation stops to be thankful. We're so grateful that we are in this mindset, this affirming that we are blessed, affirming that it's all good, affirming that it's all God. And I know these words have already been fulfilled in the mind of God. I release them, letting them be so. So it is.
You can stop waiting for love to find you. Look inside your heart. Love's already who you are. So lift up your voice. Let it be heard. Tell me your story, tell it to me. Don't leave out a word. 'Cause I think I have been there too. I'm a seeker just like you. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unbound. So it is. Thank you, Reverend Kelly. Thank you so much.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Reverend Kelly. Thank you, Haji. Thank you, everyone here, for being here today. Welcome to Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta this afternoon. I'm David Alexander, spiritual leader here. My pronouns are he and his. And give yourselves a hand for being here for today. It's good to see you. Great to be in community together this holiday week. We'll talk a little bit about how to bring that attitude of gratitude and consciousness into our being in a way that acknowledges our land and our ancestry and continues our practice of gratitude, which is our theme this month, and so much more. We're just going to weave in all kinds of things. Before we get too far into that, we do want to take a moment and, in loving memory, share that member Bill Slogger has made his transition. You may recognize his face. He's a longtime member and steady presence here in this community, along with his partner, Carol Land. And they were not married, but they were always, everybody assumed they were because they were joined at the hips, walking in and walking out of here. And so we're sending our love to Carol in this moment. So you know, she had lunch earlier this afternoon with members of our community, and she did come here early, around just before the service started, and stepped in and tried it out. And as you can imagine, when these moments happen, brings all kinds of things to the surface. And so she decided to go home today. But when she does come back and claim a seat, we will surround her with our love, and do that even now as we think of her, as we love Bill, and we send Carol our love and wishes in this moment, and know that the community, Carol, wherever you are, is surrounding you. And we'll continue to show up and provide whatever we can in ways of support, love, and guidance through this sacred and special time. And so it is. And so as we continue today in our series on gratitude, I want to talk about the theme of the month in the Science of Mind magazine is the sacred, the mundane, and the profane. And so today is sort of slated to talk a little bit about the profane. And I thought, well, that's going to be fun. So I decided to tackle that on with gratitude and everything else. And so our affirmation for today is this: in the midst of life's complexities, I cultivate a grateful heart, appreciating both the sacred and the profane as integral parts of my journey. And we'll break that down, what that means, and talk about it in just a little bit, but let's take a breath. I'll say each line, repeat, I invite you to repeat it after me, and then we'll say it all together a third time. In the midst of life's complexities, I cultivate a grateful heart, appreciating both the sacred and the profane as integral parts of my journey. Take a breath. Let's do it a third time together. In the midst of life's complexities, I cultivate a grateful heart, appreciating both the sacred and the profane as integral parts of my life's journey. And so it is.
It is. As Haji comes back to play, I just want to invite you to consider joining us this afternoon as he is hosting a sound healing workshop. Haji, can you tell us about that?
Test, yes. It's going to be you want to talk and it's not lit. It's going to be an amazing event. My brother will join me again, Magi, and it's going to be an opportunity for you to come and to manifest what you want, using sound, using vibration, using intention. And we'll look forward to having you there as well. All right. I love that affirmation, David. Love it. It happens to go right along with the song I'm going to play now, so it's perfect. I love that too. This is entitled Let Love Lead. Let Love Lead. There is something here beneath our circumstances that shines so bright and clear. So many are the chances to let love lead the way. in everything you say, everything you say. Something in my heart is telling me to come in, side and light the spark. Well, then starts a new beginning. Let love lead the way. Oh, in everything you do, think or say. Hey, 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 hey. Let love lead the way. Hey, hey. Oh, in everything you do, think or say, let love lead the way. Oh, in everything you do, think or say, hey, 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 let love lead you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
One more time, Haji Basim. Yeah. Yeah. Take a deep breath. Welcome ourselves in body, mind, and spirit into this place. Take a deep breath again. Feel the body awakening, the mind, third eye, all the chakra energy centers of the body temple. And let's just affirm together, I am awake. Again, I am awake. One more time, I am awake. And now feel yourself expanding outward. All the portals of the mind and energy are open as receptive fields for insight and information, for transformation, for everything that you came in this moment to receive. Feel yourself fully open and available. I am available. Again, I am available. Again, I am available. And even in that openness and availability, we know that God is all that there is, always providing everything that we need in every moment. And there's nothing that we need to ultimately do or change about ourselves, but simply be receptive to that which is. Therefore, we know and affirm and declare that I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And now feel all of that come together as you take one more deep breath in. And just pause and wait for that click where it all begins to line up and make sense. You know you are there when that smile comes across your face. And out of that place, I am ready. I am ready. I am ready. Woo! Yes, you're good? As we continue our journey of liberation today, I like saying that every week. I just started that a couple weeks ago. You might notice I get into something and then I just make it a pattern. Have you noticed that? So this is the new one. Every week, affirming and declaring that we are on a journey of liberation. Our tools for today, the spiritual principle of oneness is our principle for this month. The spiritual law is gratitude all month long. And today, we've been changing the spiritual practice each week. And today is the spiritual practice of reclaiming. There's something very, very powerful about understanding how to reclaim what is divinely yours, right? It's about having the acknowledgement and awareness of when we become distant from our divine birthright, from energetically and sometimes physically, that which is ours, but mostly energetically and spiritually. The understanding of our wholeness and our prosperity and our wealth and well-being, all of our sense of belonging, right? When we get separated from that, even just a little bit. The power of the breath reminds us to, right, to just center in and reclaim it. To just say, I'm here. This is mine. I have this. I am this. And so we're going to look at reclaiming, and specifically today, reclaiming the profane, which ought to be fun together, yeah? So we've been experiencing this month to see all life as sacred, including, as the Science of Mind magazine has been focusing on, the mundane and the profane. We are not profane beings. We are divine expressions of a sacred source. And so this week we're expressing ourselves authentically, without shame, to live our life out loud. Let's begin with this. Ernest Holmes says, to suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create, he said man, I've translated it here to humanity, to create us, all of us, right? To suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create humanity in bondage and leave us bound would be to dishonor the creative power which we call God. To suppose that God could make humanity as an individual without leaving us or ourselves to discover ourselves would be to suppose an impossibility. Individuality must be spontaneous. It can never be automatic. Now this quote, this passage, I really like this first part, to suppose that this creative intelligence of the universe would create us and then leave us bound, right? It's an insult to the intelligence of the universe. Of course it makes us free. And then of course it also makes us individuals to discover that truth, to discover our freedom, to discover. That's why I begin with that idea that we're on a path of liberation. Right? We're on a journey. We're on a self-discovery awakening. And that self, it looks like you as an individual, and it looks like you as an individual. It looks like what we call the individual self. And therefore, it kind of leads to this very tempting idea that, well, we're all just on an individual journey, and you're here, and they're there, and other people are on this part of the journey, and we should all just kind of give some grace and some sort of sovereign independence of everybody kind of figuring out their own stuff, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Like, yeah, you know, I'm figuring it out in my way, and you're figuring it out in your way, and other people are figuring it out in their way, and so we all just kind of need the space to kind of figure it out in our own way, given our own life circumstances and conditions and whatnot. The challenge with that is, and there is a problem with that, and the problem with it is that there's really only one self. There's only the God self. There's only the infinite intelligence of the universe that is always awakening through you and through me. So it looks like the multiplicity of all of our personalities and our politics and our regional likes and dislikes and our geopolitics and all of the different stuff that has us claiming and proclaiming territory over each other and all the different things that we do, big and small, that create quite a mess, all right? And the more we buy into that idea that there's something for you to claim as you that is separate from what is mine to claim as me, the more problems we have. Because we live in a space, in a three-dimensional space, while you and I live with a relationship with the divine, which is infinite, we live on this, have you noticed? There's this thing, right? This terra firma, this globe. I just spent a couple days this past week in Greenville, South Carolina, a group of people brought together by a couple of wonderful organizations to focus on climate change, and there were diplomats and former diplomats and former U.S. generals and politicians and faith leaders and creators and scientists, and just an amazing array of humanity in the room. And we were put into these groups and we were asked to solve basically all the world's problems from an environmental perspective. And, you know, we did pretty well. So you'll be hearing about that soon. But my point of saying that is that over and over what came up is the idea that through every sector, whether we were looking at land or water or oil or natural resources or the globe as a whole, or territories and politics or faith communities and stories, over and over and over again, we came back to this idea of competition and individuality and me and mine, and that there is a story at the heart of humanity that is driving us to self-destruction. It's, you know, and there's lots of people that have accepted the idea that, well, we're just sort of self-destructive by nature. We just consume and we just, you know, we're like a little cancer on the planet and we just do what we do, and that's not true, right? It's the way we've chosen to be, and it's the way we've chosen to be in relationship to the story that we're telling ourselves. But we know that there are people, and we should, this week for sure, if not all of the time, remember as we enter Thanksgiving week, that Thanksgiving is not just all happy-go-lucky about prosperity and bounty. It's also about a tragic story of a consistent thread of broken promises to native peoples of this land, that you and I stand and sit in this moment on as the popularity, which I think is a very good thing, of land acknowledgements taking place, what we would say unceded territory, the unceded territory of the, in this region, Cherokee and Creek Indian First Natives peoples. And unceded means they did not give it up willingly, right? It was taken from them. They did not cede it over. It was, you know, in some cases there were treaties and deals and whatnot, all of which, hundreds of which, the U.S. government broke and lied and turned their backs and did other things about, right? But at the heart of this, so what does it say? I say that to say we do know that there are groups, not just here on this land, but throughout the globe, that have lived in harmony with the earth, that have lived in relationship with this divine thing in a way that is sustainable and life-giving and in balance, in recognition of the oneness that flows through us. And so at the heart of what our current challenges are is a story that tells us to behave otherwise. If we are going to shift from that to something else, by the way, I recommend that we do, you know, then it's going to require not just new behaviors, not just new technologies, not just new agreements among countries and about greenhouse gases or this, that, or the other thing, but actually what it's going to require at the heart, at the very, very core of all of it, is it's going to require a new story, right? Something that ties us together, that reminds us how sacred and how connected we are, and what our obligation is as expressions of the divine, and what that means relationally to the earth and to each other, and what that means about not just what we buy, but how those things are brought to market, how they're packaged and what they're wrapped in and all of those other things, right? But if there's a story that tells us that that's important and that it's not just important but actually our obligation, then what we discover is that there's solutions. Like there's just like so many solutions that are like, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, I just sat in this room and was just blown away about, oh no, we can just pull air out of the water. We're going to get this little machine that just runs this little fan and it just creates potable water even in desert environments, to the tune of X number of gallons per day, and the machine only costs such and such, and it's, and it's about the size of a backpack, and you could put it anywhere, and we can put buoys in the ocean that, go up and down with the ocean waves that create electricity. I mean, because these are not my fields. I was just gobstocked for 2 days, just, oh my God, right? So many great solutions. But not if we don't have a story that's driving them and compelling us to move in that direction. And so it kind of brings up this idea. What is sacred? What is profane? Now, sacred is that which we honor and that which we name as holy. It's that which we decide is sacred. Right? You have different cultures and different groups of people. Raymond, when Reverend Raymond was here, we had a funny little joke going about, and he integrated it later into the sermon that day, if you remember when he was here, talking about that not he, but members of his family. He was fibbing on that part, but he was bringing it in as a joke about putting sugar on grits. Right? And so but there was a gathering the day before, and we were at each other about, oh, no, you can't do that, right? And I imagine if we asked in this room, there were people, right? For some people, no, that is sacrosanct, you do not do that. Other people, oh, yeah, no, that's exactly what we do, and it's what we've always done, right? So what is sacred is that which we have named as sacred, that which we honor, that which we declare. For some people, it's a book or a story or an idea or a way of being or a prayer or a building. And for other people, it's a very different thing. Now, the French philosopher Émile Durkheim, who father of sociology, who was the first to kind of use this term profane, and he said, essentially what I'm saying here, which is that which is sacred, is that which has this reverence around it and these kind of common agreements, but again, they're culturally very diverse as to what that is. And then profane, he said, is everything else, right? It's just everything else. Now, Science Mind magazine says sacred, the profane, and the mundane, or they say mundane and then profane. And so the mundane, it kind of has replaced this idea that Émile Durkheim 100 years ago was talking about is everything else. And the mundane sort of is that representation of those rote things, brushing our teeth and driving in traffic and making the coffee and doing the this and that. Just kind of the everyday repetitive things that we don't think too much about. But in his definition, all of those things were part of the profane, and the profane wasn't anything taboo. It wasn't immoral or sacrilegious, or it was just everything else, whatever we didn't call sacred, right? And that begins kind of the process, I think, for reclaiming the profane, because I think often in our society today, when we say, "Oh, that's profane," right? We're equating that with somehow bad, somehow immoral, somehow irreverent at a level that, you can't say that at the Thanksgiving dinner table, right? And it's like, well, no, it's actually just something we have decided isn't holy or sacred somehow. But if God is all that there is, right? If we believe in this philosophy, in this way of being, in this spirituality in which Ernest Holmes makes it clear that the exploration of life, the exploration of our bodies, the exploration of humanity is a holy experience, that there's a creative intelligence in the universe that invites us to explore our understanding and what we identify with, and how it is that we identify with it as sacred or profane, or to truly discover and express our authentic nature. Then how does that shift that definition the words we use, the clothes we wear, how we style our hair if we have it, or the memories we have of how we used to style it. As the way that we present ourselves and define ourselves. What happens when we ground ourselves first in the awareness that God is all that there is, that there's only one cause, one presence, one infinite intelligence moving in through and as all creation, all life. Doesn't that make everything sacred? What does it leave out? You say, well, I can't include everything because there are things that I don't like, Reverend David. I hope nobody brings that dish. I hope Aunt so-and-so doesn't make that thing, right? Because I want my cranberry sauce to, have chunks of cranberry in it and not wiggle and have the lines from the can still on it, Or maybe some people prefer that kind and they don't like the other stuff. I don't know, right? But we say, well, but we have these likes and dislikes, and we have these things that we've labeled as good and bad. And certainly right now there are a myriad of terrible things happening on the planet, and war and life that is sacred life that is being violated. Certainly not all of that is sacred, is it? And so we come to this idea of labeling. Well, there's labels, what we call something, and what one person calls something sacred, somebody else calls it something else. Last week we talked about this very dangerous idea of labeling violence as sacred, right? When one group says, well, this kind of violence is sanctioned or holy or is the good kind, and that the placement or that the presence of that kind of violence is necessary because what it does is it keeps at bay the bad kind, right? And what happens when that story and that dichotomy begins to break down and people don't buy into it anymore, right? And one of the things I shared last week was when we find ourselves in that situation, what happens is violence does what it always does, which is makes more violence. And it's just violence without the labels, right? And we're finding ourselves in real time living the consequences and the implications of that very idea as we speak. So the concept of profanity changes from culture to culture, right? Some of you may have traveled the world and know that, thumbs up in America is a good thing, right? But there's some places where it's a bad thing, right? Very same symbol in Japan. It's like giving the bird, basically, which also has an interesting story about it, which I recently saw online, which I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's in the Middle East, rather, that is not a good sign, right? In Japan, tipping money for service is considered insulting, right? In other places, it's considered insulting if you don't tip. Right? And there's a whole big cultural conversation about that right now, because then that brings in the wage equity and the whole premise behind tipping to begin with, and keeping people at lower wages and putting it on the consumer, which is already paid for the goods, to therefore make sure that the person's getting a substantial wage, and so on and so forth, right? Sexuality is taboo in certain forms of sexuality or expressions of sexuality. Other forms is very free and very liberating, and we have all kinds of rules and regulations culturally and otherwise around what that is. And so it's more than just the labeling. Well, maybe it's the intention, right? Well, here my intention is good. And sometimes my intention is not good. Or humanity's intention. Sometimes we have an intention to harm. Sometimes we see that again with the violence that's going on in the world right now, where there's the intention to self-defend and protect, and then there's there's the intention to create additional harm, to actually do damage, right? Well, we don't call that sacred, do we? No matter what label we give it. So intention has something to do with it, and we get to explore this idea of intentionality. how do I know if my intention is doing more good than not? If I had a good intention and I wanted to feed myself, and so I went through this place and I got this food, and I didn't know that that food wasn't sustained equitably or farmed equitably, or somebody's not getting a fair wage, or this, that, or the other issues. But has anybody else had these thoughts before? Right? And the more global our consciousness gets, the more complicated these things become. It becomes harder and harder to make choices that we think are good choices. I think I maybe mentioned a while back that I bought an electric car recently. And we traded in 2 cars for one, and there was a lot of practicality and finances that went into that particular decision, but there was some also planetary, environmental conversations, but it wasn't as easy or black and white as you might think, right? There's still all kinds of other things. I'm not going to get into the long list now, but let's just say it's complicated, right? And the decision doesn't come out as cleanly as we might want it to. We could look at, questions that our culture has debated over the last several years. Is marijuana a harmful drug or a medicinal plant that is helpful for cancer and other ailments? Is a curse word a defiance of God, or is it a defiant, expressive form of self-expression? Culturally, what we see as profane, as words or practices, typically are things that defy the norm, what the standard that others have set. But who set that standard, right? Human treatment of others could be, certain forms of human treatment could be considered profane, others would be considered sacred. Governments that value the lives of the rich while their country's citizens are living in the poorest streets or in economic conditions in which they cannot get out of. Is that sacred or profane, or maybe both? The prevalence of human trafficking, mass incarceration, over-policing, impoverished people. What do we do with each of these things? And then it brings us out of intention to then thinking about impact. As you know, if you've done any kind of justice work in your conscious raising work, you'll notice that there's a difference between intention and impact. Well, my intention was good, but it still did harm. And so which more important, the intention or the impact? And the answer is both. And the answer to walk in a open, conscious way is to be aware of both and not just say, well, my intention was good, so I'm off the hook, right? No. Now that you know that it has this impact, then we have to figure out how to take responsibility for that impact and make sure that even if we have a good intention in the future, that we are mindful of impact to others and the environment in which we live. And so, again, we return to the same list, all of those things. Well, what's the impact of these decisions that we're making? Have I defined the soup enough for you? How convoluted this journey is. How we clarify our intentions and our impact and have mindfulness about how we label the world. In order to navigate this space, we need to ask some better questions. If God made all of me as sacred and good, then why am I spending so much time in labels, intentions, and impact, but most importantly, in searching for the holy or the good outside of myself? If God made all of me as sacred and good, then why am I spending any time or energy on seeking it outside of myself? And when we pause and look at that, we say, oh, from the smallest child all the way through the end of life, we find ourselves constantly looking for our good out there, looking for it in the status, in the labels, in the intentions, in the impacts, in the status of our bank accounts, in the degrees on our walls, in the status of our relationships, and all of the things, right? And how others perceive us. And each of those things draw us out into this quest outside of ourselves when we've been created in something holy and sacred and good right from the beginning. Ralph Waldo Emerson advises us to get our ego-bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits, right? You and I are not bloated nothingness. Remember that on Thursday afternoon. You change the pants and lay on the couch. Adjust the belt. You are not. Rev said, I am not ego-bloated, or not bloated nothingness, right? But there are aspects of the ego that can certainly show up in that bloated nothingness suit, right? And cause us to turn our back towards the warmth of humanity that's available to us. So we need to pilot ourselves in a new direction, as we discovered in Greenville in this environmental group, that we need to be conduits of a new story, and that the authoring of that story will take a table in which we all have a seat at the table. But it begins with a deep understanding of the authorship that comes through us, and this is where the spiritual practice of reclaiming comes in. That each of us is a conduit to generate that new story. And the biggest conduit for generating something, an energy that connects us to the all of humanity, is the practice of gratitude, right? You can't be disconnected from humanity and from the world in a consciousness of isolation. When you are practicing gratitude, then you are immediately connecting with everything around you. So the biggest conduit for gratitude is the heart, right? It's not the head. You ever receive a compliment from the head from somebody? It's not a real compliment, is it? Right? It's just intellectual, fa-la-la. But you ever receive one from the heart? You know the difference, don't you? Like, the biggest conduit of gratitude is the heart. A grateful heart sets the foundation that leads to our conscious connection with all of life. It leads to our prosperity. It leads to our abundance. It leads to this cycle of giving and receiving. It leads to our relationship intimately with everything around us. The great New Thought teacher, Eric Butterworth, on the next slide, because apparently this is no longer working. Anyway, Eric Butterworth says, there we go, some persons, realizing the importance of a grateful heart, begin to look for things for which to give thanks. However, they mistakenly start with the perspective of inadequacy and insufficiency, and thus they simply become more conscious of limitations, right? Begin to realize the importance of a grateful heart, but begin looking for okay, I heard conduit of grateful heart. I need to practice more of that. Let me find things to be thankful for. And then what happens is we go out and we look for things to be thankful for, but we do so through the filter of everything that we've been talking about. What is sacred? What is profane? What is labeled as good? What is labeled as bad? And then we go, and we're looking for the really good things to be thankful for. The really sacred things, the really important things, as we're stepping over and missing everything that is right there, right? And Eric Butterworth says, all that happens in this is that we're coming from inadequacy and insufficiency, and then we miss it, and we only become conscious of more and more limitation. He says, you don't need something to be grateful for. You don't need something to be grateful for. He says, you only need the desire to feel gratitude. You only need the desire to feel gratitude. Invoke Plato's law. When you feel grateful, you become great and eventually attract great things. You only need the desire to feel grateful. Invoke Plato's law. When you feel grateful, you become great and eventually attract grateful things. And so as we wrap this up today, a couple of things on how to cultivate this grateful heart as we move into the Thanksgiving week, which for me is simply a pause in the midst of what is a constant invitation of living, to be grateful for all that we have, to be grateful for our family and our friends, but also in our larger social connected way, to be aware of the land that we stand on, the land that our home, apartment, condo, wherever you live, the car that you drive, the food that you've consumed or prepared or invited into your home, that all of those things come from a sacred place. And that sacred place, for many of us, is a place that has been taken from native peoples over and over and over again. Only the heart can restore that. And it starts with mindfulness. And so a grateful heart is one that first and foremost knows the law. There's a biblical law, and another sermon at another time to talk about this, but the truth that says joy comes in the morning. Right? Joy comes in the morning. The law is a law of reciprocity. The law is a law of ever-expanding good. The law is the law of transformation, even through dark times. And so even though there is war in the land, even though there is impoverished conditions, even though there is still issues of systemic racism and other isms that we are fighting, even though there is still environmental degradation, even though there is still all of these things, a grateful heart is one that knows the law, that even in the midst of those things, because it begins with an acknowledgement of what is true and what is so in the current state of conditions, that joy comes in the morning. That as we begin to tell the truth, we begin to liberate those systems and conditions and things that hold us back and hold society back and hold humanity back from expressing its beauty and its wholeness and its love and its joy to and with and for and as each other. As we begin to tell the truth about the things that suppress and hold that down, those things begin to lose their power because they get pulled out of the dark into the daylight. Joy comes in the morning. And so the first thing a grateful heart does is it simply knows the truth. It knows the law. The second thing that the grateful heart knows is it knows its worth. It knows that it is worthy of connection. It knows that it has a seat at the table. How else can I say it? It suggests that it knows its sense of belonging. A grateful heart knows, conditions might be this or that or the other. I might not be in the place that I want to be in my life right now, or the world might not be in the place where I want the world to be. But I know that I've got a seat at the table. I know that there's a divine connection that is as close as my breath. I know I don't need to go looking for it. I know that I am enough. I know that it's right here. And all I have to do is connect with it. And that I am just as worthy a point of connection as anyone else. And finally, and I love this one, we could spend a lot of time on this one, but we'll wrap it up shortly here. It knows its role. A grateful heart knows its role. What does that mean? It means that the universe, because we know the law, because we know our worth, then that suggests relationship. There is a law that is always unfolding. There is a relationship of your connection, and there is therefore something that's moving through those two things. And you have a role to play in that. And the universe has a role to play in it. Say, I have a role. The universe has a role. I have a role. The universe has a role. All God's children get a role. Now we throw roles around. No. Right? But we all have a role to play. The universe has a role to play. And so ours is to prepare our heart to find gratitude for those little things, to open up that space. And then the universe job is to know that it can and it does and it will always, automatically, without fail, without condition, provide every portal of its expression, everything that it needs for its fulfillment. Oh, I want you to hear that again. The universe's job is to do the expressing and the giving of itself, to pour itself into its creation through every available channel. And what it pours into that expression is everything that is required, in particular, for that point of expression to find its deepest fulfilling desire, to unfold in its perfect and natural way. In other words, its next step. And that's different for you than it is for this person or this group over here or that group over there, that there is for each one of us a divine unfoldment and journey that we are on, and the next step requires this. And our role is to be receptive. Our role is to listen deeply enough that we can hear that intuition, we can hear that guidance, we can hear that nudge, we can hear that in each and every case. In each and every case in which our heart desires a world that works for everyone. In each and every case in which our heart desires more gratitude, abundance, and love and joy expressing in our own life. In each and every case when we want this thing here to just work out. We want a better life or better future for ourselves or our children or our partner or our job or our creative expression in the world or whatever it is. In each and every case, God enacts the law of growth upon the seed, as the story was told, the seed that is planted. God enacts the law of growth upon that seed through the corresponding conditions around that seed. Through the corresponding conditions around that seed. It cannot change the conditions. So it enacts the law of growth, but it does so through the corresponding conditions around that seed. Your job is to get in position. Once you're in position, God's job is to work the law. Now God will say, now some seed fell on the rocky soil. Come on, walk with me here. Got to wrap it up. Right? Some seed fell on rocky soil, but it sprang up quickly. Some seed fell on shallow soil. Some seed fell on the hard earth, and the birds came and ate it up. In each case, God is moving through the law of growth according to the conditions around that seed. We have to make sure that the seed of abundance, the seed of joy, the seed of love, the seed of peace, the seed of whatever it is that you want in your heart that you can feel right now. And if you wanted to shout it out, you could shout it out. The seed of peace and prosperity, the seed of good health, the seed of the unfoldment of the creativity of your life, that seed falls on good soil. That the conditions of your life, that you are awake and available and enough and ready. That the conditions of your life are set such that I'm listening. I'm leaning in, as we talked a couple of weeks ago, that we talked about incident or trigger or something happens, right? Stimulus and then response. And widening that gap between those two so that insight can live between stimulus and response. So the condition of the soil is the widening of that gap. Let me create the space through spiritual practice and meditation so I can listen. So I can live from insight instead of always responding to my triggers, reacting to what people say, reacting to what people do, reacting to what's happening in the world, reacting. Let me pause the reaction and just begin to create the space for insight. We set the conditions for growth and love and prosperity to flow into my life. As you and I begin to do this, our world begins to change. The condition of our life, the quality of our life begins to change. Things begin to slow down even as they speed up because opportunities and all the right manner of things to flow in the right direction. It's like suddenly the energy that the dam has been broken and everything can begin to flow. But for a while, it feels like it's slowing down because it's backing up and backing up and backing up. We set the condition. You feel that? This is what we are able to do, not only for ourselves, but for the entire planet in this moment. We can hold this space for Israel and Palestine. We can hold this space for our own backyard. We can hold this space for Atlanta. We can hold this space for our nation. We can hold this space for our own truth and reconciliation that still must occur with Native peoples in this land. We can hold this space for any circumstance or condition in our own individual life. You can hold this space for your what's next. You can hold this space for your growth and prosperity. You can hold this space for your physical health and well-being. You can hold this space. Are you getting what I'm saying? Everything. Why? Because it's all God. It's all sacred, but it has to work through the law that and the conditions that you set. Create the space and allow the prosperity, the goodness, and the abundance to flow. Let me close with this. It's a translation of a poem of I can't remember if it's Hafiz or Rumi. Somebody, one of you will know. It's called The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. They may be clearing out for you some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing. Invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Thank you. Peace and blessings. As we take a breath and prepare for our offering, we won't put up that slide. We did see notices on my computer as we were just beginning this service, as we'd be in the middle of our service, that Rosalind Carter has made her transition. And so let's just take an added moment to hold space for Jimmy Carter, for the entire Carter family, for the entire state of Georgia, and for the nation. For all of the good works, the many, 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 many good works the Carter family has poured themselves into, that the example and the model that she has been, that he has been, that they have been together, a model of support and mutuality, a model of togetherness, a model of independent thought and strength. Oh, so many amazing words and tributes that I know are already flowing in and flooding our social media and news outlets will be reporting on. But in this moment, let's just hold this space for the glorious light that shines so brightly in this world, known as Rosalind Carter. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank God for you. And as we take time for our tithes and offering today, let's just know that what we're doing here as a spiritual community is everything that you just felt. It's the emotion and the joy and a little bit of laughter sprinkled in, and the impactfulness of message and principle and the insights that you gained or that will come more forward to you as you leave this space. It's the food that we're about to eat. It's the fellowship. It's a space of intentionality. It's a spiritual experience. Become more and more aware of how the shifting in the church world is taking place, and that's true in our community as well. But I'm not at all convinced that the world doesn't need belonging and intentional space to commune with each other, and intentional space to break bread together, intentional space to reflect on our own insight and growth, and then with fellow sojourners to take classes and to learn and to read and to study and to continue to grow. So I don't care what you call it. Call it church or spiritual community or afternoon or morning or whatever else. What I know is that it's needed. And what I know is that we are doing that here at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, and it's supported by your gifts. And so in this moment, let us hold those gifts in our hands, whatever form they take. If you're a monthly contributor, thank you so much. If you want to give an additional cash check offering, we have receptacles by our doors here. You can fill out those envelopes or drop that in there. They are lovingly received. And you can do everything on your phone, text to give, online via our website, whatever form it takes. And we invite also the giving and support of everybody who watches this now and in the future online, on Facebook, on YouTube, clips on Instagram. We are worldwide, we're certainly nationwide, as we have committed members across this country who tune in and participate, and we invite you into this sacred moment as well, as we bless our gifts with these words. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow. All that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Thank you all. Mally, tell us what's happening. Right on.
Hello, all my big old bundles of gratitude, all lined up. I like that. Just get in line. I'm going to remind you about Belongo in a minute. Belongo, yes. I'm Mally Lapete. My pronouns are she and her, and I gladly serve here on the creative arts team at SLCA. Gosh, that sun's just shining through. Did you see it today? It was in our sanctuary, just shining right through. For those of you who want to know more about our center or how to become a member, please connect with a welcome team member after service in the lobby or online. Is this the first time for anyone here? First timer? Yes. Hi. Welcome. A welcome team member would like to give you a card. If you could take a moment to fill it out, the additional card that you receive, and bring it to somebody in the lobby on the welcome team. We have a special gift for you. Welcome. You belong. We have so many great opportunities here to connect, grow, serve, and give at SLCA. So for more information about today's announcements and other opportunities, please scan the QR code found on your monitor. Did you enjoy the amazing talent of Haji Basim today? Yes. Grab some food in the social hall and join Haji for our 5 p.m. experience where he will take you on a journey of meditation and healing sound. Bring your intentions and affirmations to share, creating a unique journey for healing. Although all are welcome, we suggest a $12 love offering to Haji. Did you know that newthoughtaeducation.com has just released New Thought 101? This introductory primer into all things New Thought / science of mind is the perfect way to polish up on our teaching or to share with others who want to know more. This is free. So head on over on your computer to newthoughtaeducation.com now and sign up. Have you considered getting more involved in social justice work? Well, our Reverend David next Sunday, after Thanksgiving, from 5 to 6 p.m. in room 217, we'll take a deeper dive into creating a world that works for all through social justice. He looks forward to seeing you there. It's almost time for our monthly Science of Mind gathering, and we are looking forward to seeing you there. SLCA staff ministers Reverend Susan Zoller and Carol Anderson will be leading the gathering on Tuesday, November 28th at 6:30 p.m. in person here in room 220. For those of you who are not in the Atlanta area, you can sign up on Breeze and Zoom. We are still in need of volunteers in all areas, from media to welcome team to even hospitality. We need more nice people saying welcome. Please consider serving at least one Sunday. You have it in you. Rah, rah. We now have dates and hotel information on our 2024 CSL National Conference taking place in Charleston, South Carolina, which is what Belongo is all about. Fill in and submit for free admission to it. Join our group for this amazing conference taking place February 19th to the 22nd. For more details, ask us in the social hall after service. A reminder that we still have our SLCA Belongo going. Finish a card today for your chance to win a free registration to the conference this year. Like one thing is serve in outreach or Toco Hills for a day. There's a lot of them on here. You've probably done half these. I know I have. Will all practitioners who are available for prayer this afternoon make yourselves known in person and in the online chat now to be recognized? Hello, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. We welcome each of you in need of prayer to remain in the room or reach out to a practitioner online for one-on-one prayer with a licensed practitioner. In-person practitioners will be sitting in chairs on that side of the sanctuary. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to visiting with you after service in the social hall for food and fellowship. You belong.
Let's sing and close, guys. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. Everyone. Yes, join us at 5 o'clock for that wonderful workshop. Have a great holiday.